North Korea is one of the most closed and enigmatic countries on our planet. However, today we will attempt to peek behind the curtain and understand how the automotive reality of North Korea is structured. How is the auto market in DPRK organized? In the Republic, there are at least 3 automobile plants in operation. One of them is Sangri. Established in 1950, the plant remains the largest automobile enterprise in the country to this day. The Sangri motor plant occupies an area of 600,000 square meters. Over time, the plant produced various types of passenger cars and diverse trucks. However, it's important to note that, like the entire automotive industry of North Korea, Sangri's origins stem from the Soviet automotive industry. From the 1950s until the late 1990s, all cars manufactured in North Korea were licensed copies of Soviet vehicles. For example, under the name Sangri 58, they began assembling Gazons, which were copies of the Soviet Gaz-51 trucks. 3 years later, they introduced a 4-wheel drive version, the Sangri 61, equivalent to the Soviet Gaz-63. By the way, these trucks are still being produced. Of course, over the years, they've undergone various modifications. However, most changes were cosmetic. For instance, the Koreans made adjustments to the cabin design. As for the technical components, they're almost identical to Soviet designs from 80 years ago. Yet the Korean manufacturers did add an interesting touch. Due to the scarcity of gasoline in North Korea, a significant portion of the produced Sangri trucks are equipped with special gas generator units. Essentially, they run on wood. The second well-known plant in Korea is Pyeonghwa Motors. The company was established in the late 1990s in cooperation with the South Korean enterprise and was named Pyeonghwa Motors, which translates as peace. Because when it comes to business and money, conflicts take a backseat to cooperation. The company produces vehicles under licenses from Chinese manufacturers such as Brilliance and Dandong Shiguan, which assemble pickups and SUVs. The company also creates pirated versions of the Italian Fiat. All the aforementioned analogs are categorized under the model names Wiparam, meaning whistle, and Paguji, translating as cuckoo. Additionally, the plant produces a minivan based on Toyota and a version of the Sangyon Chairman limousine. This executive sedan draws obvious stylistic inspiration from Mercedes-Benz sedans of the late 1990s and early 2000s, presumably intended for prominent Korean officials. The factory is designed to produce approximately 10,000 vehicles per year. Yet, according to the limited available reports, production numbers have never exceeded a few hundred units. Nonetheless, in 2013, at the Pyongyang International Exhibition, the company showcased a whopping 36 new models, which were Chinese Brilliance and BYD vehicles. Even a Lada X-Ray managed to sneak into these ranks. In 2018, information emerged from North Korea about the launch of the Ninara automotive brand, the same name as the official portal that publishes information about North Korean achievements for the external world. A single image depicted 6 vehicles, from sedans to microbuses, which were also Chinese FAW models with different badges. Whether these models actually exist remains uncertain, as Koreans provide no confirmation. The third most significant car plant is located in the city of Pyongsong and bears a similar name. Pyongsong, like Sangri, is closely tied to the Soviet automotive legacy. For instance, in 1968, they started producing the off-road vehicle Gaz-69 here. An equivalent was released under the name Pyongsong 68NA. The North Korean copy underwent various modifications. For example, cargo versions were constructed based on it, and in 1985, the Pyongsong 85 model with a new canvas-covered body was introduced, making the vehicle resemble the Soviet UAZ. In the 1970s, Pyongsong produced sedans with angular forms reminiscent of the Gaz-24, with technical components resembling those of the Gaz-21, although some argue that the sedan's technical components were actually inherited from the Victory. Trucks were also produced in Pyongsong, bearing the name Tepaksan and resembling a crude ZIL-130 from the outside. Who can own cars and what kind of vehicles do North Korean residents drive? Well, first of all, it's worth noting that in North Korea, a car is more of a luxury than a means of transportation. The few tourists and journalists who have visited North Korea claim that there are more traffic regulators on the streets of Pyongyang than there are vehicles. Even in the capital, only a few can afford to own a private car. Typically, these are the highest-ranking military and civilian officials. Regular citizens usually rely on public transportation, the subway, buses, and trolleys. Until recently, in the provinces, Koreans lived quite modestly. Agricultural and freight vehicles were the most common there, and people mainly used mopeds and bicycles. However, mopeds and bicycles are still quite relevant today. But things are not so straightforward. Poverty in the country of victorious communism is practically a thing of the past. In recent years, North Korea has been developing rapidly. The country is rapidly constructing entire residential quarters, and the automotive industry is keeping pace. In recent years, cars have become more accessible to the affluent class of North Korea. Until recently, there was a ban on purchasing cars in the country. One could only receive a car as a gift from wealthy relatives in Japan or another country. Even in this case, citizens were required to hand it over to the state, so the donor had to provide two cars. One went into state ownership and the other to the recipient of the gift. Today, car dealerships in Korea are still not operational, but the situation is gradually changing. The situation is different for the ruler of North Korea. The party official and chairman of the State Affairs Commission of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, is a figure shrouded in mystery and a tangle of rumors. For instance, no one even knows his exact date of birth. Nevertheless, it's known that he is a passionate fan of Manchester United, is interested in pop culture, and knows a thing or two about luxury cars. For instance, during the meeting of heads of state on Ruski Island, Kim Jong-un arrived in a Mercedes Maybach S600 Pullman Guard limousine adorned with the logos of the State Affairs Commission of North Korea. While the standard S-Class model measures 6.5 meters, Kim Jong-un's car was a full meter longer and even 10 centimeters taller than the original. He has been using this car since 2015. The armored vehicle can reach speeds of 100 km per hour even with fully bullet-riddled tires. Moreover, according to unofficial data, the leader of North Korea's garages houses a truly unique car collection, numbering from 100 to 300 exhibits. Many of them were inherited from his father and grandfather. Among them are cars from American brands like Lincoln and Cadillac, as well as Mercedes-Benz and Audi vehicles with a combined value of $3 million. Outside of North Korea, the leader travels either on a private plane or in his own luxurious armored train. However, sometimes Kim Jong-un also travels in much more modest cars. For example, once during an inspection of a military unit, the North Korean leader was seen in the back seat of an old dark green Lada Priora. What are the most common cars in Korea? Despite being under strict sanctions for a long time, the country still manages to access prohibited imports. The only type of cars on North Korean roads is imported ones. Here you can spot even old Volvo 144 models that were acquired back in 1973 in Sweden through a loan, which by the way North Korea still owes. There are also Prioras and Nivas. Various Japanese cars of different production years are also encountered, including contemporary Lexus models. Lastly, let's discuss something that concerns many people, especially those who wish to buy a car. What can you purchase in North Korea? One option is the Whip-Aram 1516, also known as the Whistle, as we mentioned earlier. This model has been in production since 2014. The car is a licensed copy of the Chinese FAW Oli. However, the Chinese copied the car from the Volkswagen Jetta. This 4-door 5-seat sedan, about 4 meters in length, has a 1.6-liter engine and is perfect for everyday city driving. For those who want a larger vehicle, the popular North Korean 5-seat SUV Kukushka Pronto would be a good fit. It uses the Chinese Huangai Shuguan as its base, although many significant modifications have been made to the vehicle. Due to the abundance of dirt roads in North Korea, the car's design was transformed to provide excellent maneuverability, making it ideal for rural areas. The rear-wheel drive minivan is assembled at the Pyeonghwa Auto Plant in Nampo. The Kukushka has a 2.2-liter gasoline engine and costs around $30,000. Next on the list is the urban microbus Samcheonri, which translates to Korean Peninsula. It's designed for transporting city residents or tourists around the capital. It was on the assembly line in 2005. This licensed copy of the Chinese Brilliance Jinbei Wing model was assembled through the CKD method at the Nampo Auto Plant. The microbus is a 4-door 11-seat vehicle, 5.1 meters in length, with a 2.2-liter or 2.4-liter gasoline engine. There are newer models in North Korea as well. One of them is the Ninara SUV, a new North Korean crossover. A new lineup of cars, minibuses and trucks was introduced in North Korea in 2018. This was widely covered on the Ninara government website. This SUV is equipped with power steering, air conditioning, electric windows, and rear parking sensors. By North Korean standards, this represents advanced technology. The car is based on the Chinese FAW Senior R7 and is manufactured at the joint venture Chongpeng's production facilities. In general, Korean cars, especially used ones, are in demand in many CIS countries. There are reasons for this phenomenon. First of all, the quality of assembly is attractive. The number of defective cars is minimal. Furthermore, manipulated mileage is absent here. We say this with 100% confidence because in Korea, tampering with mileage leads to criminal liability, license revocation, and a hefty fine. So there's no desire to take that risk. Another reason for the increased interest in the North Korean market is reasonable prices. Prices for used cars in North Korea are significantly lower than in CIS countries, even accounting for transportation and customs clearance. This applies to global brand cars as well. It's also worth noting that the cost of auto parts and service for Korean cars in the CIS is lower than for Japanese and German brands. Lastly, the exceptional technical condition is appealing. Fuel in North Korea is of the highest quality. Roads across the country are in excellent condition. Finding a bad road would require significant effort. Add timely maintenance and the absence of harsh winters to this. Snow is a rarity in this closed country, so there are no road salts. This is why even if someone buys a car with a mileage of over 100,000 kilometers, the new owner will be pleasantly surprised by the overall condition of the vehicle. North Korea remains a mystery to other countries, and any details about the daily lives of its residents evoke genuine interest. Some things might seem strange and amazing, but everything has its advantages. For instance, all the difficulties North Koreans face when purchasing a car create a situation where everyone on the road is equal and treats each other respectfully, regardless of their car's make and model.